Let's get busy.
Did a podcast with them a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Time we get to hang out.
It's great. Yeah. Awesome, dude.
What's been up, man?
Nothing much. It's sitting in front of a microphone like this for the
Yeah,
last
I like that.
week. I've been doing some voice work.
Really?
So, yeah.
You do have that gift.
I can go wide with it, which is nice. I'm just getting into it, but
How long has this been going on for?
this has been a real concerted effort for about 2 to 3 months, and kind of thinking of how I wanted to spend the last third of my life if I am, lucky on my way home from traffic today. But it's like when one person tells you, it's like that's nice. When two people tell, and then like a lot of people were telling me, it's like, yeah, do audiobooks.
Oh, is that what you?
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I can't do that. And then I listened to a couple, just like across the board, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can.
You could do
That guy.
Yeah.
So, because some people are like narrator voice people, and they're very
But
other,
you got personality.
and other
too.
people like overact,
Yeah.
and they do like there was this one I was reading, and there was like a female character, and you can do things with just tempo and pace and softness, things that you've trained. But they were like, and the maid walked in and was like, "Oh Lord, you doing it?" I was like, "Oh, you don't need to do that, man. That's you
How
break."
would you have done it?
I'd be like, "Oh hi, how's it going?" You can just soften your voice, change the, maybe put a little accent on it. But some people are just like, "Oh, that all," and all this. It's like, "Oh, that's way too much." So I've been getting into it. I just got my first film narration.
For real?
A small local film that. Are we on, actually?
We are. We're
Oh, okay.
recording. We're
Yeah, there is a documentary that has been 9 years in the making about Ron Whitehead. And
You're doing that?
yes,
You know,
and-
he was on the other day.
And anyone who knows Ron Whitehead knows why it took 9 years to make this documentary. And I say I've
Make
performed.
sure he'll be tagged on this.
Oh, I've performed with him. I've read with him at certain things when I used to do the writer showcase here in town. But wonderful man. But nothing with him is a straight line, which is why he's so brilliant. And but they are finally finishing it up. They are actually
the outlaw, right?
Yeah, in fact, I asked the guy. They just announced that I was cast about a half hour ago because they knew I
Really?
couldn't keep a secret.
So Ron knows this too?
I don't know if Ron knows it. I don't know if Ron will know it after I'm finished, to be quite honest. And I, once
Really?
again, mean all this with love.
But you know Ron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ron would look at me like, I think, but
Yeah.
everything that he has been through and everything that has been through him, is like if he recognizes me, it's like it's awesome. But where is that? I just got a email saying where you could find out. But yeah, it's Outlaw Poet,
Right.
outlawpoet.movie. And I am doing some of the narration work to try to tie together 9 years of material. So I signed the contract on that last week.
Very cool.
I'm doing not a bad, it's actually wonderful. But I'm doing, it's just not my genre, it's my mom's genre. My mom will listen to this. It's a science fiction fantasy book.
Really?
But the reason I said bad is, when you're reading a book, you tend to know all the words in it. When you read a fantasy book, you just have to send a typed list back to the author. It's like, okay, what is this that you made up? I have no idea. How do you want this
So
pronounced?
they're not real words?
No, in fantasy, they're just making up names. And like, if you need a widget, some object that makes the trolls disappear, you just name it.
Call it something.
Yes, Baba 4. It's like, okay, I want to make sure I got that right. So,
Where's the vowels at in this thing?
yeah, and he does, because it's, it's like witches and dark lords and immortals, so it's a lot of real Scandinavian stuff. So yeah, I sent him a list of things back just saying, don't even look up the phonetic alphabet, just send me an audio file of how you say this and I will say it that way. So
That's cool.
did that, and I did a couple ads and auditioned for a couple other ones. It's looking good. So
All local?
yeah, well, one was regional, so we'll see. But I built I went into kind of a a slight madness that I built my own cloth voiceover booth in my house, and I live in Old Louisville, right, not too far from the interstate, and of course there's planes.
Right.
I made a light safe room many years ago just to develop film, and that's kind of easy. You turn off the lights and you see a light, you just tape it. But trying to isolate sound will just make you go mad. You know, you're sitting there, it's just like, where's that sound? Where's that? But I got it mostly baffled down, and it works well. And some, and you know, you can do some things to clear room tone. Got it all baffled down. Did my first read, and my cat kept smacking against the door trying to get into the room. So I realized after months of trying to build this studio that I had not adjusted for cat, which was quite humbling. So
Here, kitty, kitty.
so yeah, we're doing that, and which means I've taken a break from theater, just because theater takes a lot of time, and hopefully, you know, there's still the A Horse Apiece thing that I did with Austin Sheehan that is now on the festival circuit, and I saw where we got accepted into a couple of those, and Antonio Pantoja, his One Must Fall.
Which is where I got to know who
Yeah.
you were. And,
That still seems to be on the festival
it's on
circuit.
a roll.
Yeah. It's winding down. I think our last festival was the Dairy Castle Film Festival and Flea Market end of season. So
Well, he released this on what
you can pre-order
Yeah.
One Must Fall on iTunes in the Apple Store. But it's still winning awards a year after we did it, and I know he has something new he wants to do. So I just contact him occasionally, and take his kids for walks and clean his gutters and anything I need to be involved in that next film. So
team player.
yeah, that's what I do.
Though, speaking of Antonio, the other thing too with you, you had a very cool role in the movie and very entertaining. And I could already tell, personality-wise, that wasn't far from you.
All my characters, from Nixon to the Devil, anyone I've ever played, I try to find a part of me
To the devil.
to do that. I've played ex-presidents and devils. I always play the bad guys. But I had a male romantic lead. It was a mid-age artist slacker in a play. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever actually have had to be romantic on stage. It's like normally I kill people. So this is interesting. But no, the reason that role ended up the way it did was that Antonio brought me in, and we shot those initial scenes, but we had about a half day to shoot before Julie Strebel, the main actress, got into makeup for the last part of what we had to shoot.
Gotcha.
So he left me basically on a set with cameramen and a microphone and nothing to do, which is a terrible mistake. So we shot it real quickly. If you're going to improv, you got to get exactly what they want the first time.
Right.
It's not making it up. But then we're sitting there and twiddling our thumbs, and I was just like, scene would be a lot funnier if I was naked. And he was just like, all right, and we bartered and settled on underwear.
Isn't this where you also his child or his something family wise?
To clarify, because you just said his child, no one was supposed to be in the building except Antonio and the crew, and the only people returning to the building were Julie Strebel and that crew. This is late at night, so we're sitting around waiting for Julie to come back. I'm in my underwear because of the scene we just shot that I decided I wanted to be in my underwear for it, and I hear the elevator ding, and I'm like, and also just a lot of context. I have known and performed with Julie for many years, so I know everyone around me, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, when she opens the door, I'm gonna just be standing there in my underwear, just because I know she's been in makeup now for 3 hours, and people think
is the makeup the end scene.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So no,
massive
all right.
makeup.
I know what she's looking like.
Yeah, and I've installed floors. I've done contracting. I've done physically hard work. But I will tell you, being in a makeup chair that long for like 3 hours it will sap your energy like nothing else. So I was like, I'll stand on the door, get the energy going for everyone again, go shoot this scene. And the elevator doors open, and Antonio's wife had forgotten something. So it's Antonio's wife and the two beautiful small daughters just standing there. And it's one of the few times I do not embarrass. I was mortified. Really? I screamed and just ran.
You screamed
all the way through the set, trying to get back to my clothes, trying to get away from the
children.
Tell
me the cameras were on.
No.
No,
no
blooper reel for this one.
No, they're all sitting around in the other room, expecting to hear Julie, and they said they just heard me scream and just saw me and I'm a mid-aged man. I don't run much anymore, and sprinting poorly past them to find my clothes and just profusely just apologizing to Antonio and Jordan. The funniest thing is, like, Echo, the youngest, she now just it's right? She's my buddy, and she's just like, you're an idiot, and I like idiots. Yeah. So she's great. But I was like, oh gosh, because you want to have fun on set, but you want to make everyone feel safe on set, and that was just like, oh no, that's a moment, that's not good. So yeah,
waste. Well, the only thing is that wasn't on film. That would have been a classic.
Yeah. So, but it would have been a classic. But then I would be a witness in some CPS hearing and be like, Mr.
Lawyers involved.
Mr. Pantoja knew nothing about this and should still be able to talk to his children, and I'm the one that should be kicked out of society a long time ago.
You're very active on social media too.
I tell you, I'm going through this thing right now where
it's primary Facebook. Right?
Yeah, I don't get the other. Twitter is just a lot. Yeah. It's a big stream. I follow people, but I don't post. Mm-hmm. I have recently, I've had a lifelong battle with certain mental abnormality or mental illness, but my doctors have gone through a new treating regimen, and which is really good.
You're not in character here.
No. It's really good. But it's kind of like turning the lights on. It's like they put an engine back in my car, but I don't quite have the steering wheel yet. And I'm going through some coaching and some training, really trying to get this done. It's affected my writing, unfortunately, but we're working on that as well. And but it means that, when it comes to what we call ADHD, it's not like you don't have any attention. It's like you don't know where to focus your attention. Right. And now they've turned my attention on. And, man, sometimes it just gets focused in weird places. And that's where social media will come in. And,
what do you – give me an example.
Oh, sometimes it's just something stupid. I know more about Billie Eilish than I should ever know. I was just like, man, this kid's cool. And like 6 hours later, it's like, I know everything about Billie Eilish. Sometimes it's just really, if I'm awake and bored and procrastinating my next text, if you post something silly or something that could be taken the wrong way, I will take it the wrong way and quickly. And then, there are just certain, and this has always been, there are certain economic and fairness issues that I've always been very passionate about. And so that passion allows to be very easy to get, laser focused on. And, lately I've been, lately I have been obsessed with the red shirts on Star Trek. Okay? And this is why. I'll break this down. In Star Trek, they had no money. Right? Roddenberry says several times throughout it was a post-cash society, right. that it was a post-capitalistic society. And so I always started to imagine like these red shirts, and that they had a bad day. I'd say, it's Monday morning. And, they tied one on a little bit the night before because we knew there was drinking in Star Trek. We saw that quite a bit. And, maybe they hurt their shoulder. They're sore. They're having a Monday. Like all of us have had a Monday. But if you're not getting paid, why do you wake up? Why do you go to work? Now, we know Picard wasn't like shooting them in the head. We know it wasn't on like, death. Right. So what motivated people in the society to do what they need to do? And the reason I think about this a lot right now, I'm actually obsessed with this right now, is that it is very easy right now to imagine a world where half the jobs go away. It's quite easy. Transportation will be gone in 5 to 10 years.
Potentially, yeah.
Warehousing will be gone in 5 to 10 years. And any jobs that we have that we will still need humans with, it'll be like we'll need a third of the humans.
Not as many, for sure. Yeah.
Which on its face, on its level, is an amazing thing. Like, humanity came to the point where we don't have to do, what is this, PG-13?
Speak for yourself.
All right. Humanity got to a point where we don't have to do the shit work anymore. We evolved as a species that no one has to ache or toil or just put themselves in danger. But the problem is like for the last, call it 800 plus years, we've tied labor to resources. You work for a living. So what happens, and I think that's a lot of the political unrest, is we keep talking about political solutions to a problem that is philosophical. It's like changing an 800-year mindset, which we're not going to do with any candidate. The only person who mildly talked about it, and I think he was just out there to get people to start thinking about it, was Yang. He was like, well, what about if everyone just gets $1,000 to start with? Because he's already thinking ahead. It's like, how are we going to employ everyone in 15 years? So, but I started thinking about, because, we have more than enough resources right now in the world. We have enough to feed 10 billion people. We only have 7 billion people. So it's not like, capitalism was, you had to work to get resources that were scarce. And it's like, resources aren't super scarce anymore, and we don't need to work as much anymore. And that means people don't quite know who they are. How do you fit into that? We live longer, our jobs change. And I just think a lot of the things that we see, problems like in relationships and identity, which translates into politics, because right now in politics we're seeing people on the right and the left.
We're as divided as
it's not even, I don't even think it's divided. I think it is, because I've noticed, like, there's some things in these impeachment hearings, it's like, okay, dude, that's, our president should not be owing personal favors to other presidents. That's not good. So, but it's not even about the facts of the matter anymore. Any of this is not about the facts of the matter. But when you don't have identity through what you do, and a lot of people in this country don't, you just tie yourself to something bigger. So you tie yourself to your church or now a political party. So it doesn't even matter if the Republicans or Democrats are right or wrong. It's like, I'm a Republican. And it's because in your daily life, your job is expendable. There's someone to replace you. You're feeling less, our grandfathers, they made a decision about who they were going to marry and what they were going to do for the rest of their life from 26. They did that to about 60, and then they died 15 years later. That's gone,
Now we swipe left or right.
Man, Facebook dating is a jungle.
I've not tried that.
I went into it.
Really?
Oh, my God. Not even, though.
And I've done the Bumble Tinder thing. I've not done Facebook. The problem is Facebook. I feel like I'm going to know most of the people.
Well, no, they weed out the people you don't know, and then you realize
Really?
you probably only know the good people on Facebook, because what you're seeing is scary as hell. But no, I did it.
Wait a minute, really? On Facebook, for your dating, like the people that you're like your long list of friends, they don't get.
Your friends are not in the pool.
Really?
Though you can take 10 of your friends and put them on the pool as a crush, and if your pool, someone on your friends list puts you as a crush, it goes, hey. You guys are acting like your friends, but you want to. But no, I did it like one night. People were talking about it, so it wasn't even like an app I had to sign up for. You just turn on a function. I was like, "Whoa, my God!" But yeah, internet dating.
Now I might have to try that.
Is weird. Yeah. Though I am single and have lost weight like our previous guest.
He did over 100 pounds.
I know. I felt good. I lost 50. I'm like, 100, get out of here. So,
But he did say he weighed over, well over 300 pounds.
yeah, well, he's a big boy.
He is.
So, but yeah, so that's what I'm really fascinated right now. And what I've actually done is I've reserved a website and started a Facebook page because I think a way we get
What's the website?
with about not having jobs and not having it's called Red Shirt Mondays, and right now it's just a blank Facebook page.
Shirt Mondays.
But you can like it. And what I'm going to do with those,
this is on you manage this Facebook
yeah,
page.
yeah,
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Red Shirt Monday. And what I want to do is I think that the way we've always gotten to future philosophies or future ways of doing it hasn't been politics. It really hasn't been the economic papers. There are those out there. But it's been just imagining things. And what I want to do is get creators, artists, and I want to just start exploring scenarios of what life would be like if we didn't have to work, didn't have to labor and toil for a living. And what is it that people would do? How would we compensate that? How would society look? Because I think until we start imagining it, there's no way to get there, right. You know, and I think we're still a ways off from that. But, you know, it's like you look at the math and it's like, you know, right now, without creating anything new, you could have a factory, you know, I could order something, this factory makes it, 3D prints it out of carbon, you know, threads, nano threads at a factory. If any of those robots break down, it just sends a signal to the other robots that replace, you know, that fix and replace those. That product is put on a driverless truck. It is sent, you know, so this isn't science fiction, stuff that exists now. So it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing if people don't have to do those jobs anymore, but how do we organize for a society after that, you know?
Good points.
And I think it's compassion. I think it is. I think people naturally want to be nice to other people. I think the jobs that will still always exist is that, hey, I have to do something right now. Can someone watch my dad that's had a stroke? You know, and we do a lot of that. And I think it's just how do people get credit for helping out other people. And I think a lot of our future is going to be people helping people. And but, you know, hopefully maybe it'll be a good thing. Because apparently in science fiction, when we give up on pure, unleaded capitalism, we end up in outer space. So that's cool, you know. So, I'm all about going to outer space.
Are you?
Oh, hell yeah. I'd do it. No return trip.
Would you be the ones that would go do
Absolutely.
the one-way ticket?
Absolutely. I'd have to find someone to take 2 adorable cats, and I'd be like, I mean, I don't know what purpose I would hold on a ship. Mm-hmm. I guess they need comic relief, but
well, I mean, they're currently there's currently a program where people are getting themselves ready or whatever for Mars.
One-way trip.
Yeah.
Yep. And because I mean, at this point, that's
when's the timeline for that? Do they? I mean, is this all tied with Musk or who?
Musk is the one I think that either Musk or who's the other evil supervillain? Branson? Is that his name? Virgin? If the owner of Virgin and Elon Musk, Richard Branson, if those two appeared on our TV screens and said, "You have 5 years to stop polluting the planet or we will destroy it," I'd be like, yeah, saw that coming. Mm-hmm. Saw those two guys. Branson owns an island. Yeah, of course they're Bond supervillains. Yeah. Of course they are. But, yeah, how did we, the haircut, everything about the accent, how did we not see this happening? But, yeah, I mean, ultimately to get off the rock, I mean, right now we still have approximately, 50 billion years to do it. But, ultimately to get off the rock, it's a one-way trip, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the weird thing. You were talking about aliens earlier. It's like, statistically, there's life out there. There had to be life out there. But the problem that people really thought about this is the window that each society has before they either go out there or destroy themselves. Mm-hmm. It seems to be the either or of consciousness. Once you realize there's an other, you either learn to get along with the other or you blow the thing up. Exactly. So intelligent life has been like these little blips happening super, 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 super far apart. So it's not, are there blips out there, but was there ever a window where we were able to intersect? Mm-hmm. And if right now it just seems like if it is, then, unfortunately Earth is kind of like the Mississippi of the universe, and everyone just passes by but doesn't stop. It's like I've driven down some of those highways. It's been like on my way down to New Orleans, like, no, it's not. It's like, I know there's life there. They look interesting. I might take a picture of it with my phone, but I am not going to, like, start a conversation.
Yeah. I think you've heard of the recent videos and stuff that the Navy and, disclosed and or declassified, whatever.
Right.
And you had the commander on Rogan and talking about this. This is from that 2004 site. He's, this is a legitimate commander who is flying these billion-dollar planes, that protected Los Angeles after 9/11.
Right.
Probably knows what the hell he's seeing.
There is phenomena. There's confirmed phenomena out there. This is me being hypercritical. There's confirmed phenomena out there that we cannot explain.
Right.
And that is definitely true.
Yeah. He saw it with his own eyes.
Right.
The Tic Tac, in this case, 2004. And his thing, it was the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed of this thing.
Right.
How it can just go from, you literally see it and then you don't. Right. It's it's not that it disappeared, it just flew off.
And there are two very real options. One, something from out there visited us, or two, which I've been saying for decades, we have been vastly underrating the Canadians and when they're going to make their move. They're just sitting up there. They got resources. They're so damn polite, and it's like,
Justin,
have you ever gotten in trouble with someone you've lived with, and in retrospect, you realize how polite they were at dinner before it went down? That might be Canada. Like, yeah. Oh, no, sit down. Oh, no, please, let me get that. They know the shit's coming. So it's aliens or Canadians. Either one, I think, would be a better ruling class than what we have going on right now. The bacon would suck under Canadian rule.
Probably.
It's like, can we keep our bacon?
We need to keep our bacon.
Can we keep our bacon?
But it's all, if it's being hidden, whether our government knows or whatever, it all comes down to technology.
Yeah. And I also think that, there's like the evil X-Files conspiracy. There's also
my all-time favorite show.
Oh, God, yes. I wish I could have played the Smoking Man. But his performance is
great.
Doing so much with doing so little.
Exactly.
So great. That's my favorite kind of acting. But it's like there is like, okay, we might have an industry and we might have technology. That is, I'm always looking at all the possibilities. There's another part that you don't want to create panic. And it's like, until we get this thing figured out, it cracks me up now in the age of...
Do you think there would still be that much panic right now?
We've been bleeding it out for a while.
I was going to say,
yeah. So I think we're closer. But it's like, I see all the time how the internet reports science. And, science will come out and they publish a paper. And that's step one. And it's like, hey, it kind of seems like this thing maybe. And then it goes through years of peer review and other scientists trying to tear it down. Not out of meanness, but it's just like, I want to prove the opposite. Right. And when it goes through all that and it holds up, all the scientists are like, damn, good job. But now in the age of internet, like, these initial findings get posted and people are like, warded toads cure AIDS, or meteor are going to hit the Earth. And the scientists are like, no, there's a 1 in 100,000 chance.
Right.
And it's like I think every year, what is that one based out of England, clickbait site? It just every year, this one website that's, fairly large, fairly legitimate, is like, doomsday asteroid. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's, I got a better chance of.
But it happened before.
It did.
Yeah.
And we're looking for them.
Yeah. I actually saw where I was at NASA. Somebody posted that within the next couple of years, a couple is going to be
Yeah,
Close.
It's going to pass between the Earth and the Moon,
Right.
which
That's pretty fucking close.
astronomically,
Yeah.
is
I mean, can you imagine the
yoinks.
visual?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a yoinks.
Yeah.
But it's not like
How do you spell that? By the way?
that is Yoinks.
Yeah.
Because I watch Scooby Doo on closed caption.
The old Scooby-Doo.
The old Scooby.
Stopped when Scrappy showed up, by the way.
Scrappy was just the unfortunate result of that group living in a polyamorous relationship for so long. You knew a little Scrappy was a Scrappy needs to be on Maury and like, who are my parents here?
Yeah, I like that.
Because that was the first really open, I think, polyamorous pansexual group we had in cartoons. Because I mean, you can really line them up any way, and you're like, yeah, I could see that. I could see Fred with anyone. I could see them all. I mean, Daphne and Thelma definitely had some moments. And they're just cool. They're just living in a van.
Would Daphne or Velma, who would between the two of them would incorporate peanut butter into Scooby?
I don't know. I think Velma's done the math on it. She's studious. She's like, I did some research, and I'm thinking, hey, Scoob, oh boy, and it's like, but the fact they were able to keep that what do they call them now? It's like, it sounds like a pimple. It's not a polyglot, but it's what they call a group of people together. But anyway, I can't keep up with it all. But anyway, they managed to maintain that pretty well for many, many years, and generating an income on, I guess, we never saw the bill of sale for unmasking. It's like they would show up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They would have to.
They had to.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is like Murder, She Wrote, where that woman should have a breakdown middle of season 1 where everywhere she shows up, people die. I mean, I'm mildly depressive. I see patterns and things that aren't attributed to me sometimes. I'm like, I am the cause. But good Lord, everywhere, it's like, let's go to a cocktail. Plus, in reality, I see her walking into a room. I'm out.
Where's the back door?
And I know it means that I'm probably going to be like the first suspect. I might be the suspect who goes, well, he left immediately. And I'll be like, yeah, of course I did. Death by numbers walked in to this cocktail party. I'd much rather be the person that, I'm the first to get investigated, right? Okay, so I'm innocent because you always arrest the wrong person first. So, yeah, I'm going to sit.
Right, we'll do that.
I'll sit in jail for a week to avoid getting straight up murdered by being at one of her parties.
Going back to, what was some of your favorite shows, growing up?
Classics?
Yeah.
Boom. MASH. I was obsessed with MASH for a long time. Wrote a paper my senior year of college on MASH.
Really?
Well, it's an interesting show because it ran for so long that it actually got affected by the culture. Like, it started as like an anti-war thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so your military heads were idiots. Frank Burns and Henry. They were idiots, and the doctors were good, and the women were kind of objects. So I had that 70s swingers vibe. That pushed into the show. But then in the age of Reagan, and really, the beginning of us really lighting the fire on just greed is good, unrestrained capital, let's blow that thing up. Well, then our military, we get a softer view on. And so our military general is Potter, like one of the old good guys, just kind of like Uncle Ron on the horse, And our villains now are Winchester. It's the money and the snobbery and the rules. And now women, Houlihan is no longer just an object there. She's a strong female sinner. It's like, it was a show that lasted long enough to have to change its narrative based upon who was watching it.
That's right.
Because it lasted longer than the Korean War itself. It was just really, it did. It lasted longer than the Korean War.
Yeah. You mentioned Reagan. I saw something the other day, and I've seen it before, and it just reminded because I do a UFO podcast as well.
I'm not here.
And they're talking about the story where he's in the United Nations or something, where he actually gives this speech about what if we were all attacked by aliens? You know, we would all come together.
Well, hypothetically, what if fire rained down from the sky?
But then he added with something along the lines, well, aren't they already here, kind of thing? And the gist is that he was in the know
right.
when it came to.
Was it first-term Reagan or second-term Reagan? Because first-term Reagan, he could have been in the know. Second-term Reagan, he could have been reciting a movie script from.
That's a good point.
Well, I got an audience here. I guess I better do this thing.
Yeah, so that's fair.
Yeah.
Going back to social media, let's go back. These.
Deep tweets.
No.
Should I be eating hot wings while I do this?
Yeah, it would be good. You had the comment. Biden made this the asinine comment
Poor Uncle
about
Joe.
Good God! I mean, to me that's a statement like that with marijuana and using marijuana and gateway in the same. That should really, to me,
he is such a creature of the 80s and 90s. The super predator, the war on drugs. It's like it's gotten us nothing.
Yeah.
Joe, we misuse Joe. And I ultimately think that maybe what's happened in this country in the last 4 years, if we can survive it, will be a good thing. I think sometimes you just got to get a little weird before you get better. But
in some crazy way, I think we kind of needed these.
I don't think you would see people going, okay, now we were caught up in like the fine print, and now people are going, you know what? No, there's certain stances that are important. There's certain human dignity, and we're getting there. But so maybe I think Joe would have been best used where the Democrats 4 years ago were going at each other's throat between the Burners and the Hill Dogs, and obviously the party didn't know what the hell it was about anymore. And I think Joe Biden would have been perfect to like ball drop from the ceiling at the convention 4 years ago and be like, Uncle Joe's here to take care of it. You know what? I'm going to go take care of this Trump guy. It's going to be this malarkey's going to be some of the best debates we've ever seen. I'm only running for one term, people. So you got 4 years to figure your stuff out because they've gone bananas. Yeah. We've gone bananas, and we're going to have Uncle Joe fight Trump. But
it would have worked.
It would have worked. But now the box has been opened. The time is here. This country's changing compositionally, the way we're made up, age. The boomers are starting to die off, and now there's this large group of people that are wondering, is the planet going to be sustainable for human life by the time, we've changed racial composition, people that who have not had a voice for fear of losing their house or job. Now it's not that bad anymore. It's not great, but they're not as afraid, and they have a microphone called. So we're seeing a lot more people's perspectives, and they've
always been there.
They have been, and I think people say it's the political correctness, and I was like, no, it's like we're on a subway now. The internet, we're all shoulder to shoulder, and so I see that meme about once a week where it's like, oh, remember when we could take a joke, and I'm like, remember when people just kind of had to like grin and bear it a little bit because
what's your preference? Grin and bear it, or
I think right clever, right where people are in on it.
Exactly.
My friend Will today posted something that
Will,
he's not really in the thing. He's just someone I used to work with, and he is a wonderful. He's a wonderful black man that I worked with at Charter, and he posted this thing that it showed a kid, and it was like, if you were able to smile and stay home from school, you weren't raised in a black household. Just like when you were sick, you better had to be sick. And I thought that was great, and we should, it's like about inside the culture. And I shared it. I thought it was one of the funniest damn things I'd seen. And but I think it's just right smarter, right where everyone is in on the joke. It's people say punch up. I just like punch smart. you know, and but the time of, because even in that time that we wonderfully remember, you know, I've known in my professional life that people had to bring it in. You know, it was like, you know, you had to be a Cosby or you had to be something like, you know, it was like, and now I work in corporate where I'm seeing a lot more flavor and a lot less code switching. And it's like,
That's a good point.
it's nice.
Yeah.
You know, I knew gay people that I worked with in the 90s that I knew they were gay. Because we would frequent, you know, in the arts community, frequent many of the same establishments.
Right.
But, you know, at work, if they just weren't all buttoned up and then behind the boss's back, you know, they would give the snap or something for the, you know.
Wait a minute, show me this.
Snap.
Yeah.
It was the 90s. It was a snap.
Snap.
Things we've lost.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to hide that I have a husband. I'm not going to hide, you know, and so we're trying to figure it out. And people that think that it's a little too insane right now, and I've seen some things on, you know, the side of, you know, fairness and equality where I'm like, oh, that's okay. But, you know, I think it is right when I talk about gay fairness, my
we were just talking gay fairness. And
my
look who shows up.
my heterosexual life partner Chris Petty shows up to jail. But
CP, what up?
right
bro?
there. But
That's it.
you know, it's like when you've had when a wife has had to put up with a bunch of shit and then it breaks. Okay, I feel like that's what America's been, is that for a long time, because of economic opportunity or equality, you know, women had to put up with a lot of shit because they didn't have a way to go out on their own. So people have been putting up with a lot. And when that fight finally happens, when the straw kind of breaks, everything comes out and everyone is really, you know, angry. And there's a lot of stuff to be said. And you know, it's not about you that day just leaving the garage door open. Okay, this is 30 years of stuff, you know, back to sleeping with the bridesmaid on your wedding night. And it's all coming out now. And for those of us that are, you know, a little bit white male and middle-aged inclined, we may not be guilty on all counts, but we just right now really need to listen, you know, and not necessarily for our sake, not necessarily for figuring it out now.
To each other or
to all of it. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. And just for, you know, our children's sake, for my nephew's sake. It's like, I know that my nephews have heard more about consent and welcome behavior by their junior year of high school than I heard until my senior year of college.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, rape was really easy in the 90s, in that, you know, it was someone kicking and screaming and saying, no, right. You know. And now we're hearing about ways people had been wounded, you know, in the, you know, there was kind of a sexual revolution in the 90s that wasn't advertised. And it was like, was everyone at that party really down with that shit? You know, did they not? And so starting to hear that.
Did I just see a case or something where a judge said something along the lines that he didn't think it was a rape because the person didn't fight.
Right. And if you are 5'2" and 95 pounds.
I think she was unconscious, maybe.
Yeah. I don't mean, it's like, you say awake and didn't fight. Yeah. You are 5'2", 95 pounds, out in the middle of nowhere with a 215-pound, 6'4". You're not necessarily thinking, how do I stop this from happening? You're thinking, how do I get home alive? Mm-hmm. And this is stuff that, I'm not excusing anybody, but this is stuff that was not talked about when I was coming up in high school and college. And my nephews are hearing it, and they're seeing people brought to task for it. And there's going to be probably a few people caught up in the crossfire that 20, 30 years from now when we inspect, it's like, but right now it's like there's just a lot of pent-up anger. And there's anger on all sides. People feeling left behind by technology and industry. And, you know, that's why we're seeing a lot of, you know, so we blame other people. We are always really good at blaming other people. You see people that have just been putting up with so much shit that now they're not going to put up with any of it. You know, it is day one after the big fight. Mm-hmm. and you're not getting away with jack now.
Because there's so many platforms that you can speak here.
Right.
Everything.
But
are we ready for someone like Mayor Pete?
I think we honestly are, especially the way Mayor Pete is. It's not.
I like it.
It's not President RuPaul. I don't think Pete's going to get through. And it's really funny enough. It's cracking me up. It's like Pete's not going to get through the Democratic primary because Pete's not liberal enough. It's like we got a gay.
Isn't he winning Iowa right now?
He is winning Iowa. Yeah. It's like he's the moderate. The gay mayor of Bloomington is the moderate, which I love. But
South Bend.
Yeah, South Bend. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
All those Indiana towns just bleed in for me. It's just one. It's just one vast swath that I drive through to get to Chicago. But Indiana, we'll get you to Chicago. That should be the new state motto. But Indiana, on your way to somewhere else. But really, isn't everyone that lives in Indiana just got a flat tire coming from somewhere else? Isn't that really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. They were traveling through and got a flat tire, and that's how they ended up in Indiana.
It all looks pretty much the same.
It does. The people, the food.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Chris Petty in the house.
Yeah, but no, like I said, I just think that.
Could you imagine the fucking debate him and Trump would have?
I think, I hate to say it, I think Trump would be more polite to a gay white man than he would be a woman.
I think you're right.
I agree with that.
I think you're right.
I just his respect and where he comes from, oosh. But
not so much his core.
No.
Could you imagine all those words?
Good Lord! Now that he's president, I guess I'm going to have to have sex with a man by law.
God made Adam and Eve.
That's the thing. It's like when you look for identity. All right, I'm going to get you guys banned from the internet. This big thing right now about you got these Christians, and I put them in massive radio air quotes right now for you people. But
yeah, the visual, you can still get the visual.
I hate air quotes, but they're talking about religious freedom, and it's like the religious freedom is being. There's a war on Christmas, and my religious freedom is being impacted, and how am I supposed to explain queers to my kids and all this stuff? And it's like, well, it's like mommy and daddy, but two dudes. And most kids I know are like, oh, okay, but can I have chocolate? But it's not about. We're not fighting over Christian freedom, or we're fighting over Christian comfort right now. It's like I'm starting to feel challenged walking around, or I'm not walking around in a homogenous society anymore. I don't quite feel comfortable. And it's like, your God was a man on a cross with nails. There's nothing comfortable about Christianity. Christianity should never be. He was always like,
and he wasn't white.
No, and he was like,
right, exactly.
But he was always like, give up that shit that makes you feel comfortable. It's like, this isn't our world. This is all stuff he said. There's nothing comfortable about Christianity. I mean, if there were like real Christians in the world, you wouldn't want them in their neighborhood because there'd be like 50 freaking people living in there. Every homeless person be in the backyard of your Christian neighbor because they're passing out food and medicine all the time. They go to work, they put their paycheck in a bucket, and that money goes to like feed and clothe the people in the back. You wouldn't want Christians in your backyard. But, instead you got like, I see these superstructures going up where it's like, man, I want to play that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like, dude, how do I get a headlining gig at Southeast? Because that thing is like freaking dope.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing stage.
It is an amazing stage.
Holy cow!
How seriously in your
Get me
opinion,
that gig.
How has Trump, in all that he is womanizing everything about him? How does he have the evangelicals in the? It
goes back, honestly, and this is why the Red Shirt Mondays thing. It honestly goes back to, in absence of identities that we used to get through community, unions, other just senses of belonging. Mm-hmm. And there's this general feeling that we're expendable right now. Mm-hmm. There really kind of is, We're either expendable by automation, or we're just expendable through downsizing. We're expendable. For the most part, is that you just want to be part of something bigger than you, and you want that thing to win. So you're like, I'm with that, you know?
Yeah.
And so what that isn't really as important as, you know, this idea of make America great again is this thought that we have that I really think they're talking about 1950. I think they're talking about Eisenhower, that things were great back then. And it was like, well, things were spread out. We weren't so populated. But if you look at the Eisenhower administration, there was the upper tax on the top 1% of this country was 70%. 50% of Americans belong to unions. The vast majority of Americans had a combined sense of identity in Congress and in community because they had served in a war that drafted regardless of income. Right. Everyone bled together. And so there was this idea of middle-class wealth that was due to fairness and belonging in a union, having a shared sense of identity. Also, women had to get a permission slip from their husbands to have a checking account. Right. You could be put to jail if you were gay, and the Civil Rights Act had not been passed yet. So that wonderful sense of community did not extend to all. If we could have Eisenhower back and it extended to every American, hell, give me Ike. Right. Even as Vice President Nixon. Give me both of them. Bring them in. You know, sure, 70% progressive tax rate, 50% unionization, and yeah, focus on middle class and a shared sense of mandatory community service for everybody. Hell yeah. But it's the idea. It's like working no longer produces the things we need. And a lot of people have to work a lot of jobs. And we're working a lot of, I saw someone the other day, they were fighting for, it's like, I don't use a U-scan because I don't want those jobs to go away. It's like, why are you fighting for the right for some 60-year-old on bad knees to stand at a scanner? And this is how I feel when I go to the scanners now. I unload the groceries onto that belt. Sometimes when it's slow, I bag them. And I'm just looking at them going, here, do that for me. Do that. Do it. Like they're my grocery bitch, you know? But the fact is that we've tied shelter and healthcare and food to labor. And it's like, should this 60-year-old have to stand here and be my checkout bitch in order to have appropriate shelter and access to medicine and food? Especially when we have enough food to feed 10 billion and we only got 7 billion. We don't have scarcity. But capitalism on steroids is what is right now. Has gotten to the point that we can't have a sane conversation about it. But when you try to move people away from that, just like religion or monogamy, capitalism, and religion are all tied to the same thing. But when you attack those notions, it's easier for you to tell someone that, you know what, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, or just a flat out, you know, I'm an atheist, than to say, I think capitalism may be reaching the end of its usefulness in the next, it had an 800-year run. It's a good run. But we might want to start thinking about what's next. How do we innovate? How do we motivate? How do we organize when you no longer have to do meaningless labor? And it's like, and asking that, people always come back to some answer that uses like capitalism terms. And it's just like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's done now. I'm just saying, can we begin to start to imagine something? And what would that look like? And I think that's honestly the artist. I think the artists start, like Roddenberry started drawing a world. We have to draw a world so that we've been so deep into it, we can't imagine something different. And it's like, let's just start imagining it, you know? And how does it work? And what motivates us? And how do we identify with each other, you know? So we can get to outer space and find aliens. I'd much rather do that.
Absolutely.
I
They
mean,
found us.
I know.
We've been here.
And we weren't ready. We weren't ready, you know? It was like the person of your dreams walked into the room and you were like taking a shit and plucking nose hairs, and they just kept walking by going, no. And it was like, no. And now it's like
Not that one.
10 years later, it's like, you know, I'm on a diet, I'm regular, and I got the nose hair situation taken care of. Give me a second look.
Regular.
You know, at mid-age, I never thought I would be more just pat myself on the back for like a regular, solid morning bowel movement. It's like, yes, that is an accomplishment. It's like, I had a normal, standard bowel movement today. As a mid-aged man, it's like, it was great. It flowed properly. It was of the proper consistency, on time.
Has this been an issue?
I've never been regular. It's never been a thing for me.
Oriental food still does it for me.
What?
Cleans my pipes.
Does
Really?
it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But if I know that I haven't, I'll just go get some.
I've always, throughout my life, run a little liquidy, and there is something people don't need to know about me that's on your podcast. But yeah,
It's a great fucking soundbite.
yeah, I've always been a little liquidy. Gender. I've always just been a little fluid. I've always been a little fluid. Red Shirt Mondays. It's going to be launching soon.
Red Shirt Monday.
Yeah.
You've got the Facebook page
I
already?
just created it before I came here because I thought I might, because I've been obsessed with it for like the past. Why do red shirts get up? Chris is my Monday morning coffee partner.
Yeah.
Why do red shirts
Y'all
get
like
up?
hang out together a lot?
We do.
Too much.
I mean, people talk.
I was holding his wife's drinks. I was holding their drinks on their anniversary this weekend in Brown County. It was like, here, let me hold your drinks while you kiss.
While you kiss.
Yeah.
What would you think? I saw your post about, Roger Stone just got. I mean, that's what is that?
I'm shocked.
6.
Yeah.
What's your take on like Scaramucci?
Scare me. I love the mooch.
I do too.
I think it was the best thing for Mooch to get hired and fired because now we got the Mooch just commentating on all this BS.
He's calling it. He's saying what? He's going to resign. That's his latest narrative.
This is the only reason Trump would resign. Okay, Trump started all this. We got to remember, there's a lot of hearsay, but you see it like 3 or 4 different places. Trump really started this nomination to get some television deal or a television network.
Of course, yeah.
He wanted Trump News.
Yeah.
And then Boyd Dunn messed up and got elected, and he doesn't like the job. He likes the pageantry of it. He loves talking to people. But I don't think when people put a bunch of paperwork down in front of his desk, that's his thing. And we've had presidents like, Obama, love him or hate him, he loved doing that reading. Like he took it up to his residence at night and, I'm going to do it. See ya, going to do some reading now. All right, going to read this thing. Trump doesn't like that. So
He wants to tweet.
But the thing is also Trump, we got a little sneak preview of it here in Kentucky. Trump, I cannot picture him giving a concession speech to save my life.
No.
So resigning would allow him to get, especially if he's resigning because of the meticulous false media sources and deep state against him. So I'm leaving the presidency and starting Trump News where I can help America better. It allows him to get out of the job without having to give that. Can you picture Trump's like, my opponent did very well. We got to get behind him. Great for them. No, that's not in him.
Right.
No, hell no.
So I think a resignation, I'm doing this because I love America, but I did nothing wrong. I think that gives him the best way out ever.
You think he's going to start Trump News?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
He wanted to. He was during this last election. This isn't like hearsay.
Right.
He was on a tour of Murdoch, Ailes, everyone. He was talking to all the media moguls about how they did it. So he was looking at. He wanted a cable net. He was fascinated by cable networks.
Interesting.
And then he just messed around and won.
Right.
So.
Well, with a little help from his friends.
A little help from friends. But honestly, if you believe some of the accounts, and there's enough of them that some of it's right, like Melania was like, oh my God, no. Some people say she cried.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people around were like, holy cow, this is happening.
Yeah.
And he got to give a speech, and he loved that, and got to have an inauguration, and he loved that. But then when it came to, policy and stuff, he was just like, I don't know, And he does. I'm not. He actually as much as he's done against the EPA, he actually expanded nature preserves this week and federally protected lands. So,
Really?
He had overwhelming bipartisan support.
Good for him.
But, it's like, okay. But honestly, if he had a way out where he didn't have to lose.
I think it's
Right.
definitely.
Because what I don't want him to do is we've already eroded trust in media. If we erode trust in fair elections, which every scientific metric says that, campaign campaign fraud, voter fraud is like 0.1%. It's not. In order to stop that 0.1% from happening, you would disenfranchise a lot of voters, which is what we're already seeing. Yeah. Voting should be so super easy.
Yeah. It's one of really the most complicated. It's on a fucking Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't work. Everything about it.
Germany's gotten to the point where they fine you if you don't vote.
Like Louisiana, didn't they just do a Saturday vote or something?
People are trying to make it now Columbus Day, like a federal holiday Monday at least. Just like federal holiday.
No, but I'm serious. Wasn't there really a state that just their voting was on Saturday?
Well, and who says you have to get it done one day? Right. You can't report the results, but several democracies just have it happen over a weekend.
Right.
You know that in all this time, all the mess that we've been having, Canada had an election. They re-voted Trudeau as prime minister.
Right.
They had their primary.
When was that?
It just happened like a month ago.
I didn't even hear it.
Their entire election season.
Back?
Yeah. He overcame the blackface. Yeah. Their entire election season.
There.
Trudeau was like that guy.
I like him.
I know exactly what Trudeau did. I will tell. In 1992, I went to school in Southside Chicago. Okay, and now I'm thinking I'm kind of a minorly.
I have to ask real quick. How what's your schedule tonight? Are you jetting out of here right after we?
No, Trump and I are going to make out, but Camilla's got to come on here soon.
I think they're on a schedule. I want to get them, and then we can.
No. Here's my last story and get them on because they're doing like a really. They actually have a real show to promote.
I know.
And she's like amazingly talented. I've known her for quite some time. Yeah. But but in 1992, I was in Hyde Park, and I had a party, and I thought I was semi-woke, and wasn't. I was very sleepy. And this really cool black dude that lived downstairs that I just thought was cool as hell, and he had this hot French girl. I loved this guy. He comes over. I had one of the bigger rooms, and in this dorm, and he's coming out, and they all came to my party. He came to my party. I'm really happy, and he's hanging out by my CD collection. And for some reason, I want to go back in time and stop this. 1992, JP walked up to this guy who's looking at my full CD collection, and I pointed out to him that I had a Public Enemy album. Oh. That's Justin Trudeau in blackface. He's like, see, I'm down and missing the mark. Yeah. And me, as someone in that culture of the 90s looking, that's like, I see your stupidity, dude. It's like intentions in the right place, but Jesus, bad. So, but let's get Camilla on here.
Yeah, so I'm going to get her because I think they're kind of on the schedule. And if you want to,
I've already rambled on for an hour and 2
minutes.
That is like 1 hour more than anyone should ever hear me talk.
Two.
But the poet thing, the Red Shirt Monday is my own personal running with the thing. But the thing is, Ron Whitehead is a Kentucky poet that I think very much should be supported. I think this documentary should be. So I think you've linked it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch any of it?
I saw parts of it. Classic Ron. Yeah. But the outlawpoet.movie, I think is a URL. Mm-hmm. Go support this project. It's been 9 years in the making, and we're trying to bring it home. So
good stuff.
Very good.
Stay tuned. There may be more with.
I'll do an extra, but right now
we didn't get to even talk about the roast, man. You killed that roast.
I made them look like chumps.
All right. Stay tuned.
Bye.